The final pay-per-view before WrestleMania 2021 is in the books, and the last event to air on the WWE Network is in the books. As expected, Fastlane was a one-match show. There was some filler, 2 solid matches and 1 awful segment, but in the end Fastlane delivered thanks to the outstanding Roman Reigns vs Daniel Bryan main event. That match saw Reigns defeat Bryan via pinfall, with the help of Edge. Edge was special enforcer and, once the referee was taken out, acted as stand-in referee. After Bryan accidentally hit Edge with a chair, Edge returned the favor by hitting Bryan twice, just as Bryan was making Reigns tap. The Seth Rollins vs Shinsuke Nakamura and Sheamus vs Drew McIntyre matches were also strong, but the main event was the only truly remarkable thing on the card. The Randy Orton-Alexa Bliss match led to The Fiend returning, as expected, and was truly terrible, as expected. Roman Reigns retains his Universal Championship. Roman Reigns pinned Daniel Bryan after Edge hit Bryan with 2 chair shots. Bryan had inadvertently hit Edge, who was acting as referee, with the chair earlier in the match. With Edge and the ref down, Bryan had Reigns tapping in the yes lock. Edge interrupted it with a chair shot, leading to Reigns' victory. It was an absolutely stellar match, even if the ending was less so. It started slow, with Bryan frustrating Reigns by outwrestling him. Reigns would muscle Bryan, Bryan would counter and slip out. It started an excellent dynamic for the match. It was perfectly paced, starting out more methodical and working into action-packed back and forth. Eventually, Bryan went for his signature running knee, but Reigns moved, resulting in Bryan clocking the referee. That led to Edge, who was special enforcer, coming in to act as referee. Reigns hit a spear for a 2 count. Bryan had Reigns in the yes lock multiple times, with him promising on SmackDown to tap Reigns out. On one occasion, Jey Uso hit the ring and superkicked both Bryan and Edge. He then brought a chair into the mix, but was then taken out by Bryan. Bryan then tried to hit Reigns with the chair, but Reigns moved and Bryan accidentally hit Edge. Reigns then went for a spear, but Bryan countered it into a yes lock. After a dramatic few moments, Reigns tapped out, but Edge broke the submission up with a chair shot. He then hit Reigns with a chair, and then hit Bryan once more. He yelled at both, then left the ring like a madman. Roman then pinned Bryan. Rating: 4.5 stars. The match had some flaws, like how it overused the Reigns moves and Edge, the ref is taken out spot, and there was a little too much interference. Plus, the ending will only make sense if it leads to a triple threat at WrestleMania. Edge acted like a heel, which is crazy to me that WWE would make the returning hero look so unlikable. If we get a triple threat with Bryan as the babyface, it kind of makes sense, but still mostly doesn't. But this will be terrible creative if it ends up Edge versus Reigns one-on-one. With all of that said, this match ruled. Alexa Bliss pins Randy Orton. Alexa Bliss pinned Randy Orton after The Fiend climbed out from under the ring and hit Orton with a sister Abigail. As expected, it was awful. As Orton was doing his entrance, posing on the